Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the TKO Bluetooth Activity Tracker. This is a fitness tracker that will work with any iOS or Android device and allows you to track your steps, distance walked, calories burned, as well as a bit of sleep tracking, so light versus deep sleep, and that kind of patterns that go on. It comes with a proprietary free app which you can install from the corresponding store depending on your device, and comes in a few colors. We just have this typical black and blue version going on here. Sells on Amazon for under 35 bucks, which is fairly inexpensive as well. So this is what the packaging looks like. As you can see, we've already taken this out, but you see that there is also an OLED screen, which is fairly bright. You can still see it under sunlight, which is good to know, and has a pretty easy to use interface, which we'll show you next as well. The back features some basic info about the overall performance. It comes with a 60 milliamp hour battery that's integrated onto the unit. The band can be removed, uses Bluetooth 4.0, and has a standby time of 240 hours, which I think is decent. Not the longest we've seen, but also fairly long, and uses a typical micro USB cable to remain charged. So taking this out of the packaging next, there's also a quick start guide that you get. It includes a QR code which you can scan to download the app directly from your device, and you can see some more info about how to set things up for the first time. So taking a closer look at the TKO Activity Tracker next, it is a slightly bulkier design than what I typically like. So compared to the Vidon X6, which I'm using right now, which has the same functions, you can see how it's significantly wider as well as taller. So not as compact, but overall it does feel pretty comfortable from a design perspective, just because the band itself is made out of this durable and thick silicone material that stays on quite well. It is a sweat-proof design, but this isn't a fully waterproof fitness tracker, so make sure you don't take it for a dive and you should be fine. Includes two metal clamps just to ensure that things stay on very securely. Otherwise, there's just a simple tap on key, so a power key allows you to cycle through the various features on the fitness tracker, and that's basically it. A very clean presentation. So taking a look at the module, which contains all the parts as well as the battery, you can see here that there's just this one key on the side here which will turn the unit on and cycle through the various features. It almost looks like a pebble. You can kind of see the screen on the center here. It is quite a glossy plastic material, so it does attract a fair amount of fingerprints, so that is something to quickly note. Underneath this little clasp, you'll find access to the micro USB port for charging. It takes roughly 2 hours to completely charge, and it lasted me for about a week and a half before I needed to recharge it again. On the back, there's some basic info about the unit in terms of the specifications, and that is all. So a pretty clean design, but and we do like the use of a standard micro USB cable for charging. Unlike a lot of other companies that tend to go with a proprietary route, we think this is a better option. But again, nothing too much to write home about from a design perspective. So next we're going to turn the unit on and show you guys the main menu as well as how it works when connected with. Taking a quick look at the companion application, which is free to download from the iOS or Google Play Store. It's called the TKO Active Track, and it uses Bluetooth to link with the fitness tracker itself. And just like the hardware of the TKO Activity Tracker, I found it to be a bit more bulky, clumsy, and not as streamlined as other activity tracker apps I've seen in the past. It's not bad, and it certainly does the trick. It's rather simple, but again, I do think that it can look a bit more attractive and add a few extra features in the future. So for now, on the very top, you have access to a link key which activates the Bluetooth link and connects and syncs your device with that TKO Activity Tracker. And over here, we have access to a percentage out of a daily goal that you can set, such as 10,000 steps per day. And down below here, there's a bit more detailed info about a specific number of steps, calories burned, the miles you've walked, as well as the number of time, minutes, hours you've been active. And down below here, there's access to another setting for sleep. So it tells you in this graph view actually how many hours you've slept and light versus deep sleep patterns. And you also have access to this calendar view where you can slide up and down, left and right to go through the various months as well as days to compare your sleep data. Finally, there's access to more specific data in terms of activity tracking that presents the same information, but again in this calendar view, so you can save your historic data. And over here, there's also a progress graph that maps your progress in terms of steps, calories burned, again through the month, through the year. And finally, you can go back to settings to set a password, as well as change your basic info, upgrade the firmware, so on and so forth. And that's basically it. So some of the features that this activity tracker is lacking is perhaps sharing your goals and your progress with friends and family through social media. And there's a bit of redundancy. So whenever we see something on the homepage, some of these features are also repeated through the activity tracker page along with the progress tracker page. And again, there's not the most seamless transition between each of these pages pages. It looks like the look of the app kind of shifts as you go through each of these panels, and sometimes there's a bit of delay, but all in all, it does work. Syncing up with the activity tracker was quite seamless, and it took very little time to get used to. As far as accuracy of the activity tracker itself, it was decent, but sometimes it did tend to overcount my steps, so it's a little bit hypersensitive. If you move it or shake it, it seems to register that as a step as opposed to, really only when you're moving, registering that as a step. So I kind of wish they did some extra software optimization to ensure that there aren't missteps and miscalibrations going on. But all in all, it does work. Again, it's a little bit on the clunkier side of the spectrum. It uses a traditional micro USB port for charging, which I do like, but at the same time, they had to make this thing a lot larger than some other, again, maybe Shenzhen or China-based trackers we've seen. So that's only one of the minor complaints I had. Otherwise, a pretty sturdy construction, and battery life here is good. The screen here using OLED is also bright enough to read generally under sunlight, as well as indoors as well. So performance is decent. Again, it's quite affordable, and it works nicely. Just not the best fitness tracker. I think even in the same price category, there are better options available. You can check out more details about the TKO activity tracker in our official written review. But for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.